Hello, I'm even earlier doing this than planned, but I really woke up feeling like wanting to paint. So the reason being, I couldn't wait to get my Himi jelly gouache out again. I haven't painted with them in ages, not since maybe last summer. Uh, and I opened them last night to see what state they were in and give them a little bit of um, a squirt of water just to rehydrate them, and they looked pretty good. I mean, they've gotten a lot of use, but they haven't dried up and they haven't gone moldy, which is something that people sometimes talk about with these, and they don't smell funny either. So all that is very good. And before I start, I'll show you the completed pieces from yesterday. So, yesterday I was making scrapbook pages to sell in my little Donna Emerald art shop, which is an Etsy shop, just a little small retailer there. And I sell, one of the things I sell is kind of journals and journaling supplies because I like bullet journaling myself and I like finding new ways to sell arty things to people because we live in a modern world. So, yesterday on a live stream that isn't up anymore, I won't take this one down as fast. Um, because a lot of people aren't even up out of bed yet to watch this, so they'll be all day getting around to actually viewing it. So I did 3 scrapbook pages, and the purpose of these pages, they're going to be a digital download, and you print them out yourself if you're somebody that likes using a planner or a journal and likes prettying up your planner or your journal. A lot of people do this to draw attention to particular sections and everything. In the digital file, there are going to be 3 sort of A4 or letter size pages of basically, they're kind of like, think scraps. So these are scrapbook pages and they're things that you can print out yourself and then tear up to use in a journal. So let's see if I show you those. I showed you one yesterday in a community post, but um, they're not 100% finished just because this one is going to be torn up a little bit and used in conjunction with this third one I'm about to dig out here, excavate this page, which I was very happy with, beautiful colours in it. We made all 3 of them, but they have to be scanned in yet because if it's a digital file, you're going to scan things in, and I'm going to slightly collage some bits. My plan is that this one, this large one, will cut down into 2 A4s, and then some of this text, which I made myself, did, and then painted yesterday, um, will be collaged onto it so that the person has a choice on that page of whether they want to tear out a little bit of fancy text or just have some really nice texture and color to tear out. Because some people cut them, but a lot of people just tear the page and then they'll put a little torn bit in their journal, and it's a really cool look, you know. So I love that one. So they have to be scanned in today. I didn't get around to it because the scanning in, it can actually take a little while. So that's something maybe for the afternoon. Um, so today, I'll just put these out of the way somewhere. It's getting increasingly difficult to find places to put things out of the way in. Because today I need the room for getting my little sketchbook out. I'm continuing on a sketchbook that I started last year, but I have a few sketchbooks going and I'm going to keep using the same sketchbooks. And I want to paint in the jelly gouache in my sketchbook today. And what I had been doing, right, was doing some drawing I started with this one on a live stream. This size here was fitted to a wooden panel. Instead of a canvas, I'm using a wooden panel for a painting I want to do of camellias, these guys here, because the camellias are in bloom in the garden at the moment, and I want to catch them before they go off the bloom. So this has a big hole in it because I wasn't happy with the way I did that flower there. There's a thing with flowers. People have two different approaches. One is to stylize it and then say to themselves, well, okay, that's my way of doing camellias, for instance. And then they'll always do a camellia looking pretty much the same. Then the other way to go about it is to draw from observation and then do a painting from that. So I'm going the second way about it. So with that in mind, I did more drawings. I cut that out because I didn't like it. And I ended up with various little bits of things. As you can see, I was trying to correct it here with this stuff, which people use sometimes over ink, but it doesn't it's not hugely satisfactory for covering up 100%. And I actually should test that to see how paint sits on top of that because I haven't used that product before. But it is a product made for using with ink for sort of like it's a bit like Tipex. It's a color correction thing for ink. And you can thin it down to whatever strength you want. I like the way it goes on like paint, but maybe a few layers gives you more coverage. But no matter what I did with this, even with the white on it, I wasn't happy with the rhythm of this flower, if you have a look at it closely. And a lot of getting the painting of flowers right, I think, is in how well you got the delicacy of the flower in a drawing. And I didn't get this. I got the delicacy, okay. I'm happy with this bit. I didn't like the structure though. The structure is wrong when you look at it. The center sort of bud of the flower would be in there, but this structure goes out too far. So I wasn't that happy with the white over the paper. It was just kind of distracting. And I said, you know what? I'm very early in the painting process. I'll just do it again because the idea is to do the drawing on paper and then stick the paper to the wood panel that I bought. So I'm drawing it out again, and I have done numerous drawings. I've actually gone out every day and gotten more camellias from the garden, and it's getting better. This one has a better rhythm to it, I think. They should kind of have a liveliness and a rhythm. Um, excuse me, my cat sneeze. They should, I think, flowers should have a liveliness and a rhythm to be interesting. It's not enough to get the thing looking like a flower. It has to have that wonderful rhythm that nature has. And that was actually showing you a book that I got. Had it had floral and botanical things in it, painted, and it had that wonderful rhythm, you know. So that's what I'm trying to capture, and I'm going to try and do that with the leaves as well. So I have tracing paper because I was tracing over my drawings to try and get a cleaner line because the method I'm going to do the painting in is India ink, a sumi-e style done with Chinese watercolor brushes where you do the outline. Then you fill in shading and then you fill in color. And that's not my usual way of working either. Usually, what I would do would be I draw in planes and tones. And I'm sorry to bang on about this, but this is how you learn talking about these things. Um, it means that rather than building something from an outline that you color in, I build something by thinking about the structure of it and shading. And, on my channel, I will start, I think, on the community tab, reposting some videos up from last year that I thought were good ones because there's a good body of work there now about um, technicalities of painting and drawing. And I have one good one there on shading, where we did a live stream on building structure with shading and everything. So this is a slightly different approach to me. It's more stylized and it is more illustration skills you use than fine art skills in a way. But the fine art skills come in getting the beautiful light rhythm of the thing looking elegant, right? So these are done from life, okay? But if you go over to my uh, community tab, and I'll just make sure I'm live first. Yes. And some nice person has given me a thumbs up already. I've only started. Thank you very much. So on my community tab, just if anybody wanted to have a go at this, I don't know. We don't really get much feedback about if anybody ever works along with these. But if you wanted to have a go at flowers and you like the look of camellias and you don't have any available, you can use my camellia photos if you like. They're over on the community tab if you scroll down through the posts, and that's what I'm doing. There's one other thing I want to do because I want to trace something I've drawn already. There are going to be three camellias in the finished painting, a little square painting. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with this traced outline here. So I want to trace that again onto this to save me having to draw it from scratch again. And I'm looking for a tiny little bit of carbon paper this time to do the transfer. When I was working on this drawing that I thought was going to transfer onto the board, I actually just transferred it with pencil on the back of the tracing or the original drawing, um, because I didn't want a heavy carbon thing showing. I don't mind in this though, because gouache has a bit more coverage and it's really colour. I'm going in. Ah, there's carbon paper, and you can get that in different colours. I'm using black. Excuse me, you'll hear a little slurp noise. And the other thing I want is some sort of something to trace with. And I've lost that item as well. Uh, this has a little point on it. So this is mostly about getting colour right today, but see how it comes out? It's mostly about getting colour right, but it's about line to a certain extent as well, because I'm trying to stylize this line by repeatedly tracing the original drawings and paring down something that looked complicated like this, that had all the shading into it, trimming that back into just outline. And as I say, they were done from actual camellias that I picked. So I think it would be very helpful at this stage to get the colour right, or at least have drawings or paintings that will function as colour notes. And it'll be lovely getting the paints out as well, because that set always makes me happy. So I find when I'm doing a painting that sometimes if it's something a little bit tricky, there are different ways to approach a painting, but sometimes if I want some kind of precision or I'm going for a particular look, it can be helpful to have sort of build up pieces to help me, because it makes it feel a lot more in control by the time you get to the final piece. On the downside, it can take away a bit from the nice spontaneity of the drawing. And drawing is a very important part of painting because it's the basis of your painting. You build on a drawing. You don't have to. You saw me doing that scrapbook page yesterday in a totally abstract way that there was no actual drawing underneath. I was just got textures. But that is a different kind of thing, you see. Now, I didn't go over this in pen because I want to keep that drawing for the painting. I have to assemble three camellias together and do a single drawing. So that's one set of tracing onto paper. Then there's another set of transferring the tracing once I'm happy with the tracing onto um, the piece of paper that I'm going to start painting on. That's going to be stuck to a board. You get me? And I'm going to also use my lovely glass pen later on. If you've never seen my glass pen, behold, 'tis a thing of beauty, and it works quite nicely as well. Takes a bit, a bit of starting up, like myself in the morning. I need coffee, but look, and you can use that with ink or watercolors, and it's just, pleasure to use. I keep the little cover on the nib of it because can get damaged easily, and I'm great at chipping things. I chipped something already this morning. So if we I think it's easier to bring this up to you than bring the camera in. If you have a little look at this in a minute to focus. You can see that the carbon came out great. There's a tiny bit missing there, but that wouldn't have been suitable for the other thing that I was going to use India ink on, because I don't want the quality of the line for that um, painting on a paper that's going on a board. I don't want the quality of the line necessarily the same all around. It can be a nice look, and this look here, that could be the kind of style of flower painting that I'm thinking about doing. There is a bit of stylistic stuff going on, but I am hoping to make a style my own as well, because I'm using a hybrid style, because I have been looking at Nahanga painting, but I don't want to become a Nahanga painter. I want to adapt it to my style. Not sure where that leaf goes. I think it goes there. Just filling it to have this. So when I say that things are going to happen around here, you know me with my experiments. I have pigment powder here. This is a white, a titanium white, with some of my lovely printed out bullet points there, because I have the original file. I don't sell them printed like that. Um, I sell them with a slight sheen, sticky back finish on them, but I like them like that. This is dry pigment, and I have ordered a few pigments online that are other dry pigments. And what happens is I come along and I mix them with a binder myself, and hopefully they've got sort of little granulated qualities to them that I can glaze over a painting and get very delicate textures, a bit like the way in the scrapbook, this one, I was getting interesting textures, wasn't I? So this is something I want to explore for backgrounds, or even the flowers themselves could have a kind of an interesting texture on them, and it adds a wonderful quality. That is one of the things I like about the Nahanga style of painting, even though the pigments I'm getting are not the traditional pigments. The binder isn't the traditional binder. My style is a hybrid thing, okay? Um, some of the qualities that they can get for surfaces and everything, I find very interesting. And I have played around before and I want to explore more this year because you can get a little bunch of flowers looking like, you see the way these ones are suffused today in a spring atmosphere of light and sort of a clarity that's got a kind of a bloom on it as well. There is a kind of a bloom coming up. It's actually the filter on the camera mostly, but there'll be a kind of a bloom of light coming off those flowers. You can get kind of particular light very well with dry pigments, and it does add a wonderful atmosphere that is like, I can only compare it to Brownian motion in air particles, if you've ever seen that. Anybody who's interested in physics will understand what Brownian motion is, and Brownian motion is the most interesting thing. It's when particles of dust in the air scintillate when the light hits them and energizes them. And light is energy. And I would love to get that into my paintings. This idea of energy in the subjects of the paintings, you know. Now, I'm not going to be able to get that back to see where that bit was. So I always talk a lot, don't I? But who knows who would be actually listening? You see, you don't tend. You see, people like to see artists doing, okay, but there's more than just doing, because doing can sometimes result in just getting a likeness. Sometimes, if somebody explains to you what they're really at, what they really want from a particular painting or a series of paintings, that can be very enlightening in itself. And you can then decide, are they getting that thing they're seeking? So will I be able to get Brownian motion into my painting? We'll see. Look at that coffee. That's my very strong morning coffee. I've run out of milk. The last of my milk went into that. It's also getting a bit cold. Yeah, and you had a tiny bit in there. I'm nearly finished messing around now. I'll just have to get another couple of flowers in. This will help me organize my composition a little bit. I didn't have it completely organized yet. I sort of have it. There's another little nod in this to cutiness, where you can't really see it that well there. Just see the shadow of it. I considered putting a cat in, and I'm still considering it because this is about something being so beautiful it almost hurts, is actually what this kind of thing is about. Um, and a lot of flower paintings are about that. There are a lot of very, 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 very good. Um, Sorry, I'm doing everything slow today just because it suits me to do so. Um, there are a lot of very, very, very good 17th century golden age, I would call it, Dutch paintings of flowers. They loved their flowers, and they were very, very good at painting. And not just tulips, which everybody went nuts for, um, but different sorts of flowers. And the French could paint a mean flower as well. I've seen some French, I think I don't know if they're 17th or 18th century flower paintings that were just, they blew my mind. And I can't remember who my favorite flower painter was. I think it was somebody that was female, actually, French painter. And I remember going around the Louvre and stopping at those and just going, these are blowing my mind. And then looking for postcards of them and couldn't find them. But I did in the Prado. I managed to get a very good female um, still life painter. I really hate when people divide painters into male and female, but in at some eras in history, it was more unusual for a painter to be female because women had. It's like these days, women had all these tasks that they were trying to juggle, you know. And although painting was considered a wonderful accomplishment, it wasn't considered a career for them, you see. And you had people like Artemisia Gentileschi bucking the trend, but they were very unusual women, a bit like Victorian women explorers. They occasionally got their trousers on, you know. They had to for painting. Okay, talking too much for first in the morning. It's not that early, but all right. So I'm removing this from the backing because I only want outlines, but I will still refer to the original drawing or other details that I want. I have decided in my painting I'm going to do buds as well because they're very beautiful buds on these and very nice color. And I'd also like to have the leaf shapes do some interrupting of the flowers as well because the green against the pinks would be very beautiful, I think. So, see, we're doing a jigsaw-like thing. So this breaks up the problem into three different things, and I'm going across the page here, but I don't mind because this is not a finished painting. So I want a little clip just to hold that while I trace. And, sorry, where's my, there. And you can see that having these drawings to refer to as well, it's helping to break up the problem. And it's breaking up the problem into outline, planes. When you think planes, think shading. I used to find planes a difficult concept, but if you think of a cube, you know, with all the different sides, think of each side as a plane. Okay, so I have two bits down. I think that looks nice so far. I don't know how long this live stream will be, but I'll stay here until I get the session done. How's that? Because I have loads of time left on my StreamYard because I don't stream at all. Okay, so I want that to stay put, but it will stay put now, I think. Hang on. Maybe I'll put one more clip in. And this is the year for me of not rushing anything. Because I want to slow down to enjoy everything. Last year it had frantic moments. Now, these leaves are very interesting. I'll pick out a thing that just has the leaf to show you. And don't forget, over in the community tab, you can get better pictures of these in the position I plan to paint them. These leaves have, if you look at it really close, a serrated edge. Very, very fine serrated edge. They also have a beautiful little pattern on them, which I need to slightly simplify down, but they are a simple kind of a leaf. And they're shiny and they take light nice. So they're all things that we want to notice about them. And part of the difficulty I thought in maybe that might arise in doing this is the lighting. Because I can't generalize about the lighting, it won't be right. So what I had to do was do a different drawing of each flower on different days in the same with the lighting coming from the same direction and take a photo of each flower. So I have a photo of two of there's actually probably going to be 4 flowers in the painting because I've got 2 there. There's one that we're going to be able to see most of the back of that I haven't got done yet. And then there's going to be just a little bit of one up here, but I don't really need a reference for that because the original painting, which I'll show you, that started me wanting to do a bigger painting, I like the reference there already for that one. So I'm just going to use that very just um, indicated, a flower just indicated. And this is the way vision works, that when you're focused on something, the thing in the background appears fuzzy until you look at it and then it starts coming into sharper focus. It doesn't. I actually I looked up how that works for the eye. It doesn't really work like that. It's more complicated than I make it sound there. So I have 2 there. I don't know that I want. I have to look at the leaves and see if I like them in that position. I'm not sure I like that one. So the other thing I would be looking at is how the leaves go on. And this is one of those plants that the leaves don't go in directly opposite each other. They're staggered, but they don't go around either. Some leaves go around like that in that kind of spiral structure. These ones don't. Well, maybe they do a little bit. No, they don't. They're in a line. You look at them that side. So they're all things you have to look, and then look at how the light is hitting the thing. So part of the reason that I'm having leaves interrupting this is to get the green against the pink, but also I'm not totally satisfied with that flower, even though it's more or less correct. I don't know that it has the nice rhythm I'm looking for. I'm hoping it'll have more of it when I add color, because all those bits overlapping is where one leaf is sort of, one petal is sort of see-through in the light and it's pale pink there, and then you can see through it a little bit into the leaf behind it, and then the leaf behind it intensifies the color. So I thought that was a very interesting effect that I would go with. So this is just a tracing outlines job here. And I'm not going to approach this like the other painting with doing outlines in ink. Because I'm working in gouache and it's completely different. Every time you change medium, something completely different happens. And it requires different solutions. So part of my effort here is to try and ensure that the best rendition of these flowers, the one I'm happiest with, is the painting on the wooden panel. So I don't want to leave my best effort here. I want to put in my best effort, yes. But it should, in theory, with all the extra work I'm doing, get better and better and more, closing in on getting the subject right, so that by the time I get to working on it on the panel, a lot of the problems are solved and I have a good solid painting, you see. So some of the bits in that I'm gonna just finish off in pencil before I paint. So this one here, I haven't got the reference for yet. Okay. So I have to decide what way leaves and things are going to go there. I do have some leaves in other things. And then that's going to be in a bowl. And then say it's a square piece. The cat I have decided to put back up here. Hiding under the leaves. Just barely suggested. Having a little sleep. Peeping out. Because he's going to be white with just little pinky nose. So I can take this up now. And I want to get my pencil slightly sharper. So I can keep referring to some of these. I have reference photos. If I go to the right tab, I can find on the community tab. And I'm going to scroll down and find, can I find the reference photo? Should have two. Yeah, I actually have one photo of all of a whole bunch of them in the container. So that would be the reference photo for that cup. The other two reference photos, yeah, I'm working. If I go up from that photo in the posts, you can see this one. It's showing me holding it. See, it's dead now. So this is the photo is the only reference I have left for it. And I want to get a better point. There is a point to me doing all this slowly, and that is to try and get into very deep focus on what I'm doing. This is part of the reason that yesterday's live stream came down. I wasn't in the kind of focus that I wanted to be in, and it was conveying that mood to the viewers. So I thought, no, I don't want the viewers. I want the viewers to feel a sense of focus happening and relaxation in the videos. Because you might be like me, that a video might either inspire you to work or it might get you into a headspace that is a relaxed but focused one. I love videos that do that. And whoops, that's not going to do it for you, is it? It might. And where are we down here? That's what I aspire to. So all this in here is all darker stuff. And some of the stains and things on this one, and I'm referring to the community tab photo for this. Can I move in any closer without you losing the whole thing? Let's just see whether we lose any, whether we have any quality in the video at the moment. I never know what my focus is like. Yeah, I think you can see things okay from out there. I think I'm on a slight delay. That's why I'm still pausing. The problem is if I go too close, then I'm in my own way when I start painting. So let's get our gouaches out. Fine. You know, takes as long as it takes. How long is a piece of string? So this original drawing can be put aside. We don't need that. We only need the drawings of this. There are actually 3 drawings of that that camellia on the right, because I was trying to get it to go down from that observational drawing to more simplified. There's the second version of it there. And then even more simplified. So you see oh, sorry, I would put white behind that so you can see it. You can see the process behind how I had to get from one to the other. So that's that. Um, I could not have arrived at what I would call the elegance of the kind of line involved in that without going through those steps, because the kind of somebody else might be able to. But that's just kind of artist I am. So I want to be able to have these near me, but not in my way. Would be nice. Oh, look, is that another one of the same thing? Yeah, I actually did 4 same thing. Wasn't happy with that one because you see the way I was going over the line too much. I have a very um scribbly way of drawing, and I like it. It's it's one of my ways of doing things. So to get something to go from that to a different thing uh required all those steps. I'm not saying the first scribbly way of doing it is nice, but for what I wanted, I couldn't visualize how it was going to work. So I thought I'd try the other. So I like that the little mixing pad comes with this, and it cleans off very easily. Unlike acrylics, they don't clean off the palette that easy. So with an acrylic, you will have to go and wash your palette very fast after your session. Whereas with these, if they were hanging around for a while, it's no sweat cleaning up, even if you're a bit late doing it. Okay, so I'm trying to get it that you can see the palette as well. Some of my colors are running out, but that brand is not too bad. It's cheap as well as a refill. And, you know, sometimes you can definitely you can get the white in a refill, and I am low on white. So they have the white as a refill. But I think I might have some of that Pabeo stuff as a refill as well. And I've noticed that the binder is starting to come apart from the white in that. So I think the white, was it a Miya white or was it the Pabeo? I don't know. But sometimes you need to do this to get the binder going back if you're getting near the end. And I've had success with these outdoors as well, because in another video from last year, I did an early spring field trip, and I had bought a special storage pallet for these, especially to be able to bring them outside. So that proved a highly successful object to have. And it was before I was able to bring oil paints outside. I didn't have oil paints in small tubes at the time. Looking for a palette knife because I like taking these out with a palette knife. So colors I need, I'm going to add more white. And even this bit of messing with the materials and getting the materials out and everything, that can be part of your focus for the session. Focus on everything you're doing. You bring the same focus to everything. So this keeps kind of impatience with your work at bay when you just do everything. I am trying to actually bring this kind of focus to my washing the dishes and jobs I don't like and things. It doesn't always work because the I hate doing this bit thought tends to intrude more, but with painting it doesn't really. There's no bits I really hate in painting. Maybe finishing a painting off, I find that the hardest bit. Maybe because it's the most stressful bit. You have to sort of make commitments with. So sometimes people just dip into these. I don't want to get the colors dirty, you see, so I usually just put them out on the pouch. And if I have it, now I have a very acidic kind of a pink here, which if I hold up one of my blooms to, we see isn't really the correct pink for it. Just wondering, do they need a little stir? They're not bad, actually. They've been lying around since last summer. That's good, isn't it? Very cheap little set. So it's not quite the right pink. I mean, it's not far off in places. In cooler bits where, if you can see the bits that are in shade, um, I'm looking at the camera lens. This bit here isn't far off it. Isn't far off that color because that's a cool pink, you see. But we need a few colors. So it has a little bit more yellowiness in it, and actually the skin color might be the thing that solves it, but the other thing that might solve it is adding a little bit of some sort of a yellow, either the orangey yellow, maybe. So we'll do a little experimental mix here and just see. There are a few kinds of pink in this, you see. The orange is quite a strong color, so I don't want to put. Yes, we're getting nearer to it there. And it's easy to focus on this bit because color mixing is so much fun. And that is such a beautiful pink. It's an orangey pink. That just makes me happy, that pink. Now, say for example there, that's not bad. Maybe could go slightly cooler, but towards the middle of the flower and things like that, where the pale yellow of the stamens are reflecting, you've got that warmer pink. Okay, so we're going like that. Now the other thing, and if I could find, I have a little envelope with a color wheel in it that I'm looking for. Now I want to show you something. Color wheel. I'm sure I have another copy of it. See, there's roses I did last year. I have them on a bush as well, those type of roses, but that's actually from a photographic reference. Don't really enjoy doing things from photos as much. I prefer like something like that is actually done from having the thing in front of me. And it's mostly because I can't kind of emotionally respond to the thing if it's not there in front of me. I'm fiddling around in here because I'm looking for the color wheel, which I'm having trouble finding. Hang on. Here are the experiments I was doing in this kind of painting last year, and you can see that Brownian motion idea there. It looks like the atmosphere is kind of, to me anyway, it looks like the atmosphere around the flowers is kind of scintillating, and I find that very exciting in painting. And here's another one. I like these little paintings very much. I think I might frame them this year. I've been invited to show somewhere, and I think these would be very nice. I'd like to get better at framing myself, though, because framing is so dear, and buying ready-made frames online, you're at the mercy of just what's available. They're not always the right sizes or anything like that. Still looking for my color wheel. I don't know where I put it. And I would find it the minute I am off the live stream. I would find it. don't know. I'm nearly at the point of giving up. Really, it was just one thing I wanted to say to you about that. That it was about shadow on something. That if you wanted to do shadow on those, the bits where the shadow is made up of the color plus the thing that's opposite it on the color wheel mixed together, basically. So, and in fact, I probably have a color wheel on my page. Oh, I can't post it up in the chat. Oh, what the heck? Nobody ever looks at these things. So if you look up color wheel art, you should get loads of things. I'll just see how easy it comes up in search. I can't post it here, you see, in chat for you because I can't navigate away from StreamYard to do that. I'd be afraid of losing my StreamYard. So opposite pink, if you've got all your colors in a big circle in a color wheel, right? And there's a color wheel actually way back on my community tab. If you want to scroll back, there are also a series of live streams using the color wheel. So, like, if you were interested to learn, it's there for you, you know. Um, and this is why I was thinking about reposting a few videos on the community tab to remind people, hey, look, I was doing the color wheel this time last year. So look out for those little posts, little reminders of some stuff that's there that's, I think, is still very useful to remember. Because, you don't always get to see something the first time I post it. And as kind of like art lessons, if you like, say in color, if you haven't done them before, they could be interesting. And I learned a lot doing them. I learned about Zorn palettes and things like that, and learned more about the standard color wheel from um, doing those live streams. And we made a color wheel. See, if you wanted to make your own color wheel to help you with your color mixing. So opposite pink, you've got on your color wheel, you've got the pinks and the purples all on the same side of the wheel, right? But on the other side of the color wheel, it starts shading over from pink to red to orange, yellow, and then green, right? And comes back around and goes to purple. So if you're looking for the shadow color of pink camellias, right? The bits that are in shade, if that was the color, it's the color that's directly opposite it on the color wheel. So directly opposite that pink is green. So something like, well, we'll take some green out because, we'd like some green in this picture. So it might be that, or it might be more, you know, darker green, depending on what hue the pink is, you see. But that they're opposites. And so what would happen when we mix those two together? I have a little bit of the warmer pink here, but I'm going to just show you. And to get the kind of color you want, you can start with equal measures, but then you make decisions about, well, is that too cool or too warm? That's basically how you make decisions about your colors. But when you mix two colors from opposite sides, you get what's called a neutral. And they are the kind of shadowy colors that you have terrible difficulty deciding what color they are. So saying something like this, a lot of our shadow colors are still very pink, but they've got some sort of coolness in them there, but they're not that grey, are they? So we're still staying with the pink to heat them up because they're not that grey. And you can do things like say, well, it's still not a really warm pink. It's a purpley one. And purple is right beside pink on that color wheel. So it makes sense that that was shading into a purpley color. So we're going to take a more purpley And actually, with the Himi set, the colors are chosen that you shouldn't have to do too much mixing if you don't want to, you see. So, they're kind of beginner friendly like that, if you like. But there comes a point when you do have to experiment with mixing a bit. And you see this kind of color here? I chose the color that had the kind of yellow in it. That's not actually bad at all for the shadow, some of the shadow colors. Um, the other way to get those shadow colors, and I did a live stream on that one as well, is glazing. And I did a glazing demonstration where I was painting pearls, and I started with black and white pearls, and then I glazed over them, and they became different colored pearls. And that was a demonstration of how you can add color using a technique that the old masters used called grisaille, Grisaille, grisaille. So if you don't want to just do it a la prima, as they say, just mixing as you go, um, that's the other approach to it. So I'm just going to show my palette and the sketch pad. And we're going to go for the main. It is a bit fake what I'm doing in a way, insofar as I am showing you how I'm getting things as well. So I will sometime, I think, do a painting session that's just a painting session, and you know, I won't be talking you through it at all because not everybody wants instruction as such on how, you're mixing colors and everything. Some people just want to watch somebody paint, which is fair enough. Oh my goodness. They went very hard. I don't know why. These are, oh no, I was going to say they're the brushes that came with them. They're not. They're a replacement for the type of brushes that came with them. I'll use that one just because I like that one. Now, I am referring, again, I'm on the community tab and I'm referring to the picture of this one, the camellia facing to the right, and in the picture I'm holding it. So I've seen people do this a lot with the Himi gouache, and it's a good technique. It works. What you do is you water it down like a watercolor first. And this is the lovely thing about gouache. You can use it a bit like a watercolor. You don't get the range of effects that you get with watercolor, but you can get it to behave like watercolor. So I have that cool pink with very slight amount of that warmer in to get the color I want. And I'm going to just see the way this is a bit more of an outline filled in approach, but we are going to get into shading. And I'd love more coffee, but I don't want to drink the cold coffee. When this is over, I'm going to reheat my coffee. I'll have a very hot coffee. Then I'm going to force myself out to walk. I'm not back to jogging yet because I'm not over a little dose I had. But I don't enjoy walking as much as I enjoy jogging. Because I like walking if I'm going out to draw something, but it's not exercise then, you see. Exercise walking is, I find it boring, but I love jogging. That's not to do with art, sorry. But it kind of is. It kind of is because it's about mind and body, keeping yourself healthy, and it's very sedentary art. So you do have to put in a little bit of effort into keeping yourself healthy. Now I'm leaving the stamens out of this because they're going to be a different color. I'm going to fill in all the pinks first. Give them a few minutes to dry. Nothing dries in this weather. It's just still not warm enough. And I'd be lucky if it doesn't lash rain on me when I go to work. But we'll do our best. Okay. That looks like it wants more floral out there, but no, leave it alone. Okay, so we're coming over here. I'll fill in this one, even though I don't have the right colors really for it, because there's a balance goes on in composition between the elements. And I want to see how the balance looks with that flower. The other thing is these, when they're on thin on the palette, they'll dry relatively quick. But that's okay because unlike acrylics, you can reanimate these. So when they're dry, you can spritz a bit of water on them or just mix a bit of water on top of them and they'll come to life again. Some people love these, using them dry like a watercolor block. I don't enjoy them dry. I enjoy the jelly aspect of them. I like that. So I want to actually find the second flower, this flower, to look at, even though, whoops, sorry, I just hit you, to look at on my community tab, even though I haven't filled in on the colors yet. And that flower I posted 2 days ago, and I'm holding it again, and it's facing left. The more time I spend looking at the actual flowers, the more likely I am to be able to get the thing right. Or looking naturalistic, let's say, which is what I'm after. Somebody else might be after something that isn't naturalistic, that's very stylized. But I want to have a naturalistic element in it. Those flowers at that particular time. So, of course, we're lucky we have photography, aren't we? But I still don't like doing things just for photos. It's just something, no, I just can't get excited about things in photos. Even photos, things from my own life, I don't like. Don't like looking at photos. They don't mean anything to me. Nothing. They don't have the Brownian motion I require. That you only get with real things that scintillate, move the air, and are full of energy. Maybe that's it. Now that's going to be exciting doing that bit because it all goes into a really deep color. So this is just like a just a wash of color to get me started. Let's go into green, and I'm going to go with a dark green. I'm actually mixing a little bit of purple in it to get it darker, and a little bit of yellow to make it a little bit more sap greenish. And I want a bit of blue as well. Now I'm kind of, going against in a way what this palette does, because when you look, you've got greens galore in this palette. Look, it's great for greens. This is why I like bringing these out for landscape painting, because it has a great selection of greens in it. It's not as great for portrait painting. It has a skin color, and it has a few other colors that will make skin color, but not in the kind of amounts you require. So you have to source other stockists basically when you do that. So I'm going to go with the mid green, and then if I need to get other greens. So this is the putting things in initially in a kind of watercolor style, and then we're going to paint on top. And if you look at the stems of these, they're a um, kind of a cool burnt sienna color stem. But you see, painting all these curves and everything, a lot of enjoyment to be had. I could have used my Chinese brushes for that, but I'm saving them for the other painting because I'm not completely used to all the brushes yet in that, whereas I'm very used to these brushes. So there's really only one brush in that I've gotten really used to, and it doesn't cover as much ground as this brush does as quickly. And I didn't want to be dazed on this sketchbook painting because this is not the main painting. Okay, so in this painting, I'm trying to get some of the rhythms. Don't think I'm 100% happy with that leaf. I think it's slightly off, maybe. I don't know. We'll see if it gets better because there's a seam goes up the middle of those leaves. We'll see if it starts looking nicer when that goes in. I do want a leaf coming out this side in the composition though, because that will be very nice to just have the cat peeping out, sleeping behind the flower. And I mean, I'm enjoying all the colours already on my palette. They're beautiful. This is, this always happens with the Miya Himi set. I have discovered that there is a particular joy in using a set like the Kuretake watercolor, where you can see all the colors laid out in big pans because, and they have a lot of pre-mixed, nice pre-mixed selection of colors. Although I don't need a lot of premixes, it's very inspiring seeing the premixes, the premixed colors, and a lot of them would be colors I wouldn't normally use. So it encourages me to use colors I wouldn't normally use. Now I'm going into the back of this one to look at, whoops, sorry, the structure. And as I say, I haven't done any sketches for this yet, so I'd want to do a sketch today for that probably. I'm afraid my camellias are going to die completely. So I've got both buds there for reference. And when the bud opens, how it looks behind the flower. And there's a mixture of brown and green in that. And it's very, very, hold it in there so you can see it. Very dome shaped. See, these are the sorts of details you can't get too handy when you're just looking for a nice photo online. We're not really copying a photo. We are being scientists trying to figure out what is this brownie in motion. I love this one actually. Look at this. The way this projects into forward. I wonder can I get that? It's the right lighting, see? Let's try and get that just while I'm holding it. I would take a photo, you see, if I could, but I'm using the camera, haven't I? So I can't yet. Uh, but the lovely thing about photos is that it removes the sense of panic about how long you're taking to paint something. So I'm going to put more buds over here so you can see the lovely structure. Let me be darker on that side. That'll be brown going in. And then there's also a beautiful leaf with a darker one here. And that dark bit, let's move over a bit, that dark bit there is going to be lovely because it adds a lovely shape, but also a lovely drama beside the lighter pink. And look at some of the intensity of the pink there. Let's try and get some of that. I just want to put on another bud while I have this thing at the right angle. And then you have a little bit of a story here because you have a bud trying to come out. So we might interrupt that green with this little bud trying to come out. And it's those, I think it's those little intersections of things that will make for an exciting painting. So this actually has a very ready bit in it as well as green bits. Which is forward painting something with in hand because you need both hands sometimes. Where did I put my little cloth? And just have a little cloth to wipe off excess here. So I'm going to take out one more darker pink. And I think this might be one of the pabeos that I bought because I might have used a lot of that pink for some other project somewhere to make up another color. But so this is not the Miya Himi brand, I don't think. I think this is another brand, but it's very nice. And I can get that darker color there, you see. And then haven't used much of the white yet, but I'm going to use a little bit of it now to just bring up that blood to lighter, slightly lighter color. So I'm not going into loads of detail at the moment. I forgot what I did with this. Okay, I wanted a darker green. So I'm going to go into the darker greens now in a sec. I don't want to get into specifics too early. This is not going to be finished painting. This is an exploration of the color. So we're going to go into a darker green, which I'm choosing a more viridian green, but I'm also going to come along with that red. And they're from opposite side of the color wheel. So you're going to get a nice dead neutral looking color when you mix things from opposite side of the color wheel. And that's not too bad. Is that showing? Yeah. So we've got a very, very dramatic dark green, and I have it rather watered down. And that's just for coverage. So the people whose videos I watched who were doing that, it was a good idea, I thought, because they got the page covered nicely before they moved in to do more details, you see. So this one also had a dark side to it. And I haven't got any details in on the leaves yet because I want to tackle the flowers. That's the main thing I want to do today. You see, I would be coming along and doing, there are details, there actually should be done in a lighter color, but there are shapes like that on some of the leaves, which will be quite interesting to put in, I think. So one other thing I want to put in is They have a color. They're not calling it burnt sienna, but it's a very burnt sienna color, or even a Venetian red. You could call that a Venetian red. And I'm going to do the stems in that color. Add a little bit of orange to bring it up a little bit, rather than white, which would make it a bit too tonal for me. And I'm going to add that to the stem color. And where does the color start running out in the stems? That one doesn't have a flower attached to it anymore, so let me look at one that has a flower. Go a bit thicker with that. So the buds have some of this brown on them, a little bit. And they also have a little bit of overlappiness. So as I'm painting here, I'm drawing as well. And I'm getting to know the flower better. You can see that the buds have two bits to them. They have an underneath little supporting bit. And this. And then my observational skills get better as I go along as well, because I'm focused, see. And I've noticed that green. I have noticed that it's not just green going on in this. It's also the pink in a couple of spots before the flower comes out. And then there's even a little bit of light hitting in there. See, I'm in the correct light still. I'm in the same lighting here when I'm holding the flower there. I'm very aware of that, because if I held the flower in different lightings, you're not going to get a unified picture. It's not going to make any sense lighting-wise. See, we're getting the little bit of shape of thing going on. And I want a bit more pink here. And I'm mixing it with the brown. Is this brown in well? Okay. So you see how you wouldn't really be, you could do this in a hurry, but I just not enjoy doing it. Part of the experience is being able to enjoy the blooms, the wonderful life in the blooms. Okay. Now the green is totally different kettle of fish, but underneath this, and I've loaded the just one side of the brush up with brown. Underneath that, you've got the same buds have opened. And the variation in color is great, actually. Really enjoyable to paint. And I want much more yellow green up here. So no matter how many colors you have available to you in the palette, you might find yourself still mixing your own colors. Because How many shades are there in nature? And then there's always going to be bits you're leaving out or bits you're adding in because it adds something to it. And that's, you get to do that, don't you? So I'm adding in a bluey color here for some lighting. It's happening on the leaf before it goes into a greener color. And now it's easier to handle because I had a little bit of underpainting underneath. So there isn't a big load of white coming through and it's just easier. And there's actually a serrated yellow edge on that, but I don't want to put the yellow edging on it until it's dry. And I'm making an effort to keep moving around the painting and not get stuck in one bit. But you see people doing videos, time-lapse videos of doing these paintings, and so they're sometimes speeded up. This is why, because it's not necessarily fast. You don't necessarily want it to be fast either. Why rush your pleasure? Okay, and now I'm liking that. I like that. So let me come along and add a lovely deep pink, just for the heck of it. So you want to get into our deep pinks. And I still haven't done anything with the background at all, but when you're working on this, I might change my water. When you're working on this cream colored sketch pad paper, it's like having a background in. So sometimes you don't even put a background in, and it doesn't really look too floaty because it's not a white paper. But like that is a look. If I left the paper white, that's a look as well, So does it's just what look is it you like? Now this is a red that I think is also one I have to buy to replace a red there. I don't know why I was using that much red. It might have been the portrait painting thing. And I've noticed that this one, which is a very pinky red as well, went a little bit drier than the Himi gouache did. But I mean, because they're deep pans, they don't go that dry. So I want to see how dark I want to go with that. I know it's not as dark as that, so I'm adding a bit of white to it. And which flower do I want to start with? I don't really have a reference for this one up here, so I'll just wing it slightly. And I want it warmer than that. A little bit of yellow. Okay, so it's not red, but it's a warmer pink. And that is, I'd be reasonably happy with that color there. If we got that in shot. So that with a brighter pink peeking out. This is the underneath strongest pink. Then we've got various brighter shades of pink going on. And they're very nice against the greens. So you have to come up a little bit into that warmer color we had. So they're still pinks, but that's actually a slightly different pink from this one because that's the color that had more yellow in it. And I think that it's those little things that make the difference in a painting's interest for the eye. And makes it another reason that there's no point in sort of trying to hurry unless you don't have much time. And then you say, okay, I'm going to do a quick impression. I was doing 1 minute drawings recently. I did a short, saying to people, hey, have you got a minute to draw? If you drew for a minute every day, you're still helping your drawing skills, aren't you? Some days I despair of my drawing skills, but every artist does that. You don't always feel hugely positive about your work. Some days you feel better about it than other days, you see. And that is to be expected, and I would argue a good thing in some ways, because it means that you're aiming for perfection, and perfection is one of those things. Do you ever get there? Do you ever get perfection? Well, not. But it's good to have standards. So this dries to, I think it's dries, I forget whether it dries lighter or darker, to be honest with you. But it dries a slightly different color, which a lot of people find a bit irritating about this particular set of gouaches. But I still love this set because this set is very inexpensive, gives you a lot of pigments and a lot of different color choices, and is very good for stimulating your creativity. So, although it's not, you know, super duper professional gouache standard, for the money, it's very good. And you will have a lot of fun with this set. It is fun. But I did have a lot of trouble with colors afterwards, thinking colors were really nice when I was painting, and then afterwards, when they were dry, going, hey, you know what? These colors look a bit muckied down. What's happening? And then I came across other people saying the same thing, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm not imagining. Doesn't mean you can't do really nice pictures with those. Okay, and I'm going to do some lovely browns and yellows in there. So this bloom, when the live stream's over, I'm going to take a picture of this one because this is already getting a bit tissue paper like, where it's struggling. Oh, no, I got some green in that. I mean, just wanted the color there. I think the green has infected it slightly. That color is a bit dead as a result. But we're getting to play with all the different pinks, and we got to play with the drawing. And if I could find this one. Now we'll come down to the other flower, and I have a reference for this one. So, um, I will have to come in here with pale yellow. So I want to just establish a little bit of pink before I go in. And because this is gouache, not watercolor, I can actually layer on top of that pink. Just go over a bit. And then in the middle, the pink is as you should be getting a good big long live stream out of this one, which is nice if you were painting along. You see, sometimes that's nice for a painting session. Not kind of nice to know somebody else's painting. Although I have to say, from my own career, painting is such a solitary activity that it's not like you need to know somebody is in the next room doing the same thing because you spend most of your time on your own. So it's absolutely a perfect hobby, vocation, skill to acquire for an introvert. So you see the way I have gradations of pink over here. So I've got a lot of mixing done already. So the mixing of things can get a bit simpler as it goes on. I want to get in there with the yellow because I'm looking forward to seeing how yellow looks against that color. And I have not yet had to go into a very bluey range for shadows, um, because this red here, I give you the technical reason that I think that is. I mean, I could go into this, but I think this red that I have is, it's like an alizarin red, which is a cool red. I know red is a warm color, but sorry. That's my alarm saying, if you sleep any longer than this, your day is basically halfway over. You're a disgrace. But I never really do, so I always forget to turn it off. Um, what was I saying before the alarm interrupted? Oh yeah, because the red, I haven't had to go into to get the shade in color, haven't had to go to the opposite side of the color wheel yet because the red is a bluish red, that kind of red. So the shadows in this don't go that far over into the other side of the spectrum, but you might find you have to add a tiny bit of blue to, depending on what reds you're using. And everybody sees color differently as well. And I am enjoying that color against that color, but I'm going to make that color on the leaf a little bit darker now because I didn't, I'm adding a tiny little bit of that sienna brown into it to make it a richer green. And I'm doing the little edging as well. And that might be gone over in a very, see this kind of very pale bluish color? That could be gone over in that as well. But for the middle, I'm leaving that sort of pea green showing. And I'm trying to swoop it around so that the line creates an elegant um, um, item. Can't find the word out in the composition. And water it down a tiny bit as well, just to make it easier to handle and do a little blendy because I want to keep a little bit of the original green and blend, just to have some little subtle things going on. Round. So all these little tiny, tiny bits and stuff. That's too brown, but that's okay because it's gouache. So, oh. And you know, when I change from one medium to another, there's this thing that goes on. I have to sort of get used to something, but I love that because it makes me take pleasure again in the process. And I'm trying to get the fluidity of the paint just perfect for what I want. Now that leaf is a bit more interesting and structured than it was. So I'm going into ochre. So I've actually used quite a few colours in this, but at the same time, they've been used sparingly, haven't they? So I'm just using this one for coming up the middle, that, and I want a dark brown. And I'm still remembering what way the light is coming from and observing from an actual leaf. See, and in fact, I want to see what way the leaves individually attach. They all have some sort of a little nodule. So what I'm going to do is sort of draw paint that little nodule. And that little nodule is a, see this here? That thing? Very subtle, but that's the power of observational drawing. Things you didn't know were there. You suddenly go, oh wow, yeah. And deciding which ones of those you're putting in the painting, which ones make it better, more interesting painting, is really cool. It's a really cool thing to do. And I'm a huge fan of botanical paintings and drawings. For that reason, they have a holding something under a microscope sort of beauty that you think wonderful. But they take, as well as painting, they take good drawing skills. Now I want to have all leaves intersecting in here, and I don't quite know how I want to have them. So that's something that has not been resolved really for the final painting, and I haven't exactly decided. So something like this, although I might decide, yeah, I want it all very dark behind those leaves to emphasize the depth in it. I might not have decided the rhythm of the leaves, if you see what I mean. So that would be something has to be worked on more before the final painting, and that is the point of doing all these. So I can see what bits are working so far and what bits aren't. And you can do things like hold things to the correct, like this leaf here, hold it to the correct angle for this leaf to see what way the light would hit it. And the light is coming in dark on that side. I can't make an assumption that that's going to happen. It doesn't always happen. And in fact, there are a couple of paler veins running through the side that I would have totally missed had I not held it up like that. And also on this one, it doesn't have a bright edging the way this one is going to have. Okay. I think I have another hour in me in this painting, so I'm not going to get finished now either. I'm always saying that. I'll do the usual. I'll post the finished thing later. Now, there's actually a brown coming in here in this. Whoops. I think I just painted the camera. But yeah, I'll post it on the community tab when I do finish it. This is a paler one. I need more. So some of these leaves have a little bit of brown, and the serrated bit is showing to a certain extent on this, but the brown is fading into. So this is if you haven't done observational drawing like this before, it really is fascinating to try. But I would suggest, if I may suggest something, I would suggest it would be something that you find interesting for some reason, that you draw, that you already find interesting. Because if you don't find a thing already interesting, you're not going to spend an hour or 2 hours or however long you get lost in doing it, painting it, are you? Or drawing it. It could be just a minute though. If you don't know what you're into, you can just draw something for a minute and then move on to the next thing. I'm going to move on to doing when that's dry, I'm going to come back and do, maybe modify the yellow there. I think the green might need to be slightly brought up a bit there. That's better. Because I want a bit of a difference between the green on that side, darkness of the green on that side, and the lightness of the green on the other side. Because the drama, this is how the drama of the painting happens, you see. So I want to get my brush nice and clean because I'm going to go into yellow range now. I hope you can hear me. I got a bit quiet, I think, because I got so focused. How long have I been on? Oh my goodness, 141. I won't stay on longer than 2 hours, but you got a lovely long bonus live stream, didn't you? So let's get some yellow. Looking for the palette knife and it's in my hand. So it would be impossible not to be chillaxed for the rest of the day if you were doing this. So I'm really glad I'm doing this on a weekend day, actually, this bonus live stream, because that's when people are chillaxed enough that they might actually. This is where I might actually get my Chinese paintbrush out, because this particular paintbrush would be very good. Yeah. And I have them all back neatly in the roll. This one. this beauty. This paintbrush so much. It just has such a beautiful point for this kind of thing. So these are yellow stamens. We'll have a look up close. This might be helpful if you were going to use those photographs on the community tab to have a go at doing this subject. Me moving the flowers around, I think, is helpful. So this is not like a super yellow stamen on this one, but some of them, they look more yellow. And in some lights, they look more yellow. But they've got orangey and brown tips. And there's quite a bundle in the stamen there. So they are yellow. And I have them a yellow with a little bit of pink in. That yellow enough? It's not really. Less pink. Paler. It's really just for that stabby point. I like this one. And I want to refer to the original drawing actually to get the stamens in the right place. Where's my original drawing for this one? I also have the photo, but my drawing kind of has the type of information I want to know. So what's happening in this one is a series of dots on the top of this, which I'll do now. I keep losing my little white pea. Don't let me forget to use the glass pen just for fun before we go. So I'll use it on the I'll use it up here. Sorry, I'm up because I'm looking for the rag. I'm sitting on it. This is how I end up with paint on. And I've probably ground paint into the seat cushion now. Don't know how it worked its way under there. Okay, so I want a brownie yellow for the tip of these. And then I am going to come along and get some dark brown and just emphasize the edges of these. And you probably notice I can use my finger again. My middle finger, it's great. It really messed up my day not being able to use that finger. It was so awkward to draw and paint without the use of that finger because that stabilizes the brush for me, the way I hold it. Now, this is about the most definite color apart from the leaves. It's the most definite color in the flower. And it's also backed up by a very orangey yellow, which I'm going to grab a little bit a more orangey from the palette. And I mean, it is handy having those pre-mixed colors there. Just saves a bit of time. So I'm just trying to get it to have a little bit more pow factor on the tips, the pollinated tips of those stamens. And I was just thinking about probably uh, when I have not this painting, but the one on the panel of the same subject done, a couple of months later, the next flower painting I want to do, I think, will be of apple blossom, because the apple blossom, when they come out, are lovely, and they're lovely with the kind of technique that I want to use. Now I'm going to do a very warm red, pinky red for the center of this, for behind the stain, because a lot of the most exciting, deepest color is in there. So I want to make sure it stays a bit pink, but has a bit of a reddishness in it. Get exactly what I want there. That's more like it there. And then I'll bring it up a little bit with a paler pink there. That's more orange. Oh, it's not looking as dark. Great on the palette, but it's not quite as dark as I try. There, that's better. So I'm going back in between those stamen, and I don't think I want to do it up there actually. I just want to do it down here and in the deepest parts of the flower. So in the edge of the leaves. Okay, and I'm going to do that same kind of color a different way now in a minute with a different material. So yeah, it was a good session because I got to explore some of the colors I wanted to explore for my painting. And I will, that's a very floppy brush, for a little bit too floppy for gouache. But it was nice for the in-between bits there getting in. Now down here, I could actually go towards the blue range a bit more, but I might do, oh yeah, I know. I'm gonna make the green there. So it's a viridian green, which is opposite the pink on the color wheel when you look. So there you are, see, and that can really make a painting, because if you look at that color, I'll try and bring it in a little bit. Hopefully it'll focus. I'm using the photo as a reference here. This is not something you want to guess at the position of, but if you look at the photo, you'll see that the parts where I did say before that I found the shadow on these flowers quite tricky, and it was getting the position of the shadow right. But if you didn't know how to mix those opposite colors to come up with that shadow color, you could be ages fiddling with that color, getting nowhere, trying to get a shadow color. Whereas this way, see the way it's actually suggesting a shadow very, very nicely on this side of the flower. That's a bluish shadow, but that shadow still has pink in it. Okay, so it's a weird one. That's why it's a weird one to try and get on your own. So I'm adding more pink into it there to get it to also have pink going on. And it is the contrast of cool pink, the neutral tone, and the warmer pink that gives you all the delicate colours of a camellia, I think. This is all just my personal approach, my personal opinion. and somebody else might have a different approach. But I think that that's creating beautiful color there now, and I love it. I think that's the painting is coming to life, and I'm pretty happy with what's happening with it now. And then when I go to the very last one down here, I'm going to do a little thing before I leave. There are whites will go on that as well, like very pale pinks when that little underneathy bit is dry. I think it's got a nice rhythm to it though. I am happy with the general rhythm. And look at all the greens, they're not all the same green. This needs to be modified a bit in here, but there are subtle different shades of green going on. However, just before we hit 2 hours, let's get the unicorn, special unicorn, Donna Emerald Green, dip pen, glass dip pen out, and we'll finish with a flourish, as they say. I think that's a pretty picture. I like it. And Himi Gouache always make me happy. It was definitely a far more focused live stream than yesterday. And I think if somebody wanted to, watch that for little tips about flower, I'm not saying I'm great at painting florals. There's so many people out there doing them who are fantastic at them. But I'm just showing you my approach. It's always good to see what other people are doing. So I'm taking out the Aquafine Quinacridone Magenta, which is the handiest color ever, painting any sort of pink flowers. And because the dip pen, well, it would have actually fitted now that I look at it. Some of my dip pens don't go into handy into the original containers. But look what I'm going to do. So uh, we'll have a look at how the dip pen works and put the unicorn touch on this thing. So not overloading is a good idea with these, but I can just dip off the edge. So on this one, I want to get to the right picture on the community tab. I'm going to the flower on the side. I'm just going to finish it with a little bit of dip pen drawing. Seeing as how it's a sketch pad, it's not the finished painting. And I think that doing something different over here will be quite fun. It won't have the subtlety of all the different colors. But I can come along and do a little bit of gouache work afterwards. But the quinacridone is it's a cool pink, but it's very good for any sort of deep red or pink roses. I found that one out by experiment. So I'm going to come up here along the edge of these guys, pink. So you can actually draw with glass dip pens. They can get a bit blobby if you kind of stop too long, but it's like anything. It's just and one. It's a slightly different look from this picture, but gouache covers things, doesn't it? So if I want to go over bits, modify colors, I can do. Just wanted to use a dip pen for fun. And I will color those a bit darker as well and get my yellows going. So that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed that live stream. Hope you found it chillaxy. Hope you enjoyed the dip pen. And see you next time. Bye bye from the bonus live stream. Doesn't want to end for me. I can't get my little thingy onto the thing. Bye.